drifted alarmingly in the betting was, Fancy in the morning continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Buttons.
The ground is soft. It's not.
It's heavy.
Soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
Hello, and a big warm welcome to the Bastards Inquiry Sunday Sermon. Yes, our flagship show. And we've got plenty to talk about this weekend with some possible Guineas and Derby market talk, and together with other issues in racing that's been happening this week. And joining me, as always, are my two usual cohorts, to much delight. I'm hearing from the masses. John Lang and Chris Lorne Malver.
How you doing? Hello.
Hello, everyone.
I think we're in good spirits. That's a lie.
Rubbish. That's a flat lie. Couldn't be more fucking miserable. Christ.
Yeah. What a fucking week. This is it. The game makes monkeys of you, but we'll come on to that later in the show. But obviously, we'll get through some talking points. But before we do, a big shout out and a big hello to Jack Keane, the Sun's racing correspondent. I'm told, John, he's a fan.
He must be, mustn't he? I mean, he used the one liner from last week about the rivets.
Yeah.
He's also raised the exclusive in the Sun that SDS is going to be the next Ammo jockey.
Yeah.
And you heard it first here.
Yeah, he heard it first, apparently. So there you go. So good evening, Jack, if you're listening.
Good evening, Jack. Let's hope we can write another column for you this week.
I have got some tremendous rumours, but I can't say them on air.
Well,
so
we might release the rumours if Jack gives us a good old plug in his column.
There you go, Jack. There you go. That's what to do. Plug the Bastards on the Sun Racing. You know it makes sense. A quality podcast.
I'm sure he doesn't actually, but anyway, whatever.
he's swarming off all the information we give, isn't he? Exactly, like a worm. Jack, Bun. You worm. You total worm. Yeah. Disgrace of a man, Jack. Yeah. No shout out for you, you bastard.
No.
Fuck him. Right. On to the show then. And we've had lots of questions regarding Guineas Derby next year, because obviously the racing taking place at Newmarket and Longchamp this weekend, of potential shake-ups in those sort of markets. So let's go through it, shall we? So the Friday, where it certainly escalated in terms of quality, and we saw Coppice win the Rosemary Stakes. Obviously, she's off to America now, rightly so, because she loves fast ground, and to be honest, it wouldn't surprise me if she went on the dirt the way she moves. So I think that's a smart move from Juddmonte on that one.
Yeah,
and because no good running that overwatered slop, is it? It's just terrible. As Longchamp have proved this weekend, which again we'll come on to in a short while. The Equiworld Dubai Stakes was won by Time Lock. Sweet Memories in second, Running Line in third. Very impressive that, John, in a very quick time.
I think they went too quick on the front. C-Theme stopped us though shot.
Too far, yeah.
But I really didn't expect her to do a lot on that surface anyway. After York, I was a bit disappointed in Haggis running her, to be honest. Because I didn't think she let herself down properly at York. I thought we got away with it. Whereas on Friday, she really looked as though she was trailing it when she came off it. I thought Sweet Memories did really well. Was probably handy enough. Could see her running well in the fillies and mares if we keep dry. If it got wet, I wouldn't guarantee a beating C-Theme. But we'll see. We've got 3 weeks, haven't we?
An interesting 3 weeks ahead. The Rockfell, which was...
Now you're talking.
This is a performance and a half. Carla's Way, John. Obviously, now we've had questions as well. Mark Mackay's been on for the Guineas, etc. What are your thoughts in terms of Carla's Way getting a mile?
I think she can get a mile. A lot depends on what these pair of lunatics do with her. I mean, there's talk of America. I mean, for me, that'd just blow our brains out. I don't see any benefit in going to America at this stage of the season at all. I think if she's going to be a Guineas filly, she wants putting away and going straight to the Guineas. There'll be no benefit in running in a spring trial on fast ground. I mean, she's had 4 runs this year. That's ample to go into a Guineas experience-wise. All I'd be concentrating on doing would be getting her to drop it.
She was better though on Friday, don't you think?
Oh yeah, she was better, but I think she can be better still.
She was probably helped by Skidmark at a good pace on the Gosden one. I don't think he's done his job prospects any more good there with that ride on Strawbridge as well, because that for me was too much.
Pull up the drawbridge, you'll have had a cow over that, won't he? I mean, he won't have been happy. You know, I hope he didn't get a plane over for that.
Pull up the George Drawbridge.
Yeah.
So Carla's way, John. So have you seen, what's the latest prices for the Guineas? Have you seen?
I think the 16's available with 365.
Does that appeal to you?
It's hard for me to say that because I'm back to at 33s.
All right, let's say it gets to the day of the Guineas. I mean, bearing in mind,
I don't think she should do anything else this year. So I would assume she'll still be 16s in the spring. I would wait till the spring.
So basically, you're hoping that they don't go to America, and you...
Yeah. If she went to America and won, I think it'd fuck the Guineas anyway. Even if she won.
Interesting thoughts. Yeah, well, I think she's more likely to stay the mile than Van Dijk. That's just personal opinion. I'm not certain to be right on pedigree and.
Well, she's built more like a mile. She's got a bit more length to her, I think.
I mean, so in terms of Guineas, I know, because obviously a lot of our listeners know how keen you are on this filly. So obviously you're quite nervous that she might end up in Sanatana November.
Yeah.
Is it November? Early November? And or whenever, end of October. I'm not sure of dates, but yeah.
No, they might as well send her the fucking Alamo if she goes to America.
Yeah, so. But then Crisfords are daft enough, aren't they? Do you think that's a problem with a lot of Newmarket trainers in the fact that
I think the new wave of Newmarket trainers, Crisfords, your Bowies, your Variants, they're all keen to make a name for themselves globally, and they want this international profile.
Attracting owners, yeah.
You know, it's not always in the best interest of the horse, especially 2-year-olds. I'd never run a 2-year-old in the Breeders' Cup.
No.
Ever. Wouldn't entertain it.
No. Right, we come to Saturday then at Newmarket. Again, more classic trials, if you like, or potential classic trials. Royal Lodge, a very interesting race indeed. I was very keen on Capulet on Friday's show. I was left obviously a little bit flat, but Capulet on that ground anyway. I think he hated the ground. I think he was hanging quite early. I wouldn't want to see him on ground that quick. I would like to see him on ground, softer ground. But John, Capulet already looked to me like a Ledger prospect.
Well, he wouldn't come down Tottenham Hill,
No,
would he?
not at all. No, they can forget that project. I could see him turning up in the Chester in May. Bit of soup, a mile and 4, and
they'll probably piss up round there and encourage him to have a bash at the Derby. You won't see him until possibly the Voltige.
No, it's the way we can. But I wouldn't write off Capulet for next year over further if any of you are fans of this horse, because he definitely started to grab the ground late on. In fact, I was so surprised he nearly grabbed second, because at one point going into the dip, he looked like he was going to be tailed.
I think there were 2 fair yardsticks that finished in front of him. Al Musmak was solid going into that race. Ghost Racer was probably the potential.
Yes, very fast time at Ascot. Yep.
So he's got beat by the right ones. Ghost Racer will be interesting because off the top of my head, I don't remember Clive Cox having many middle distance type horses at verging on group.
Well, he's by Invincible Spirit, but it's a Champs-Élysées mare, so he should stay on the distaff side. But the problem is, Invincible Spirit don't get many stayers, if you like.
I always think he throws fairly set types as well. I've never rarely look at one of his and say, right, it's a Scorpio, okay, you know. And this one looks, he looks to me as though he's got his shape anyway. You know, I don't think I'd say him improving a lot on what he does this year.
No.
I could be wrong, but I can't see.
So we're not seeing any Guineas candidates in this for stars.
No, not for me. No,
definitely no Guineas. Right. No. Because I think people are very keen Guineas and Derby and maybe Oaks, and that's what they want to know. Our listeners. So we come on to the Cheveley Park, and Portia Fortuna bounced back to form, probably to a peak really of what she showed earlier on this summer, after probably a little bit too little flat runs maybe at the Curragh, and certainly put them to the sword. The one thing I noticed, obviously pocket speak, was Jasna's Secret, the one that I was all over, was absolutely cantering into the dip and sort of floundering like a wild Atlantic salmon, and that was it. And that was the official reason as well, that the filly just didn't handle the dip at all. So she'll not be back here at any point. So where did you see the Cheveley Park, John, in terms of any classic pretensions in here for the 1,000 guineas?
You could see Portia Fortuna running third or fourth in the Guineas, couldn't you? You'd be disappointed if she won one. I don't think it was a great race. I think there were some very questionable rides. I thought Buick was piss poor on Soprano. I mean, first of all, he dropped her out. By the time they got the furlong pole, he's laid in his rope. Well, that's too much in a short space of ground, So she was never going to sustain that. I never get this, why they sit last and then think they have to be in front a furlong and a half out. If you're going to sit last, you want to be hitting the front 30 yards out.
I mean, well, you said that. I mean, Pearls and Rubies, she ran a blinder, which, under Pat Dobbs, she was right out the back and finished strongly late. I mean, this is a very, very well-bred filly, and as we know, sometimes O'Brien's fillies at 2 can get beaten kettled and then come out at 3 and then just all of a sudden be absolute world beaters.
The more he runs them, the better. This could be one of those. I'd be a bit concerned that Ryan didn't choose to ride this one. He went with the Lowther also ran. And I'd be even more concerned that you had a kill toss splitting them.
Well, yeah, there is that. But
we know that's not going.
So we're not saying any Guineas or Oaks pretensions out of that. I mean,
I couldn't back anything.
And before people laugh at me and say you've said Oaks pretensions for a Cheveley Park, well, if you look at Pearls and Ruby's pedigree, there is a lot of stamina on the distaff side, a lot of it. You just never know. Sometimes they make monkeys of these horses. The Middle Park, then Van Dijk, as I mentioned earlier, look, anyone that's backing this for the 2,000 guineas, good luck to you. This will not stay with the fifth leg. It's that simple. It's a very good horse. It's got a lot of speed, but there's no way this gets a mile ever. As long, no chance, not a chance. He's the best right now. He's got the most speed. I'd also give a special mention to Task Force, that looked a bit, again, unsuited by the quick ground, the undulations. He showed a lot in second. I felt get him at Newbury on good to soft. I'd be all over him. I think to step forward. It's just the tracks, and Van Dijk is just an athlete, like Usain Bolt, whoosh, and gone, and he's gone. Very athletic. John, do you agree?
Yeah, up to a point. I think we are right on quick ground on a flat track. That's possibly more scope than Van Dijk to get the mile out of a Guineas winner. If I had to back one for the Guineas out of that race, it'd be Task Force, but you've still got the dip to contend with, and likely for quick ground into the dip. So unless you were getting what I'd class a ridiculous price, maybe 33 to 1 or something, I couldn't play at this stage.
Totally agree. So I agree with that. Task Force is the one for me to take out the race in terms of maybe potential classic prospects next year. Van Dijk, as I say, is a sprinter, pure and simple, but
they wouldn't come off.
There's no chance that they'll try, because that's what you do. I mean, it's already going to be valuable as a sire. I mean, I read something yesterday that the last 9 Middle Park winners have all gone on to make sires, and so Van Dijk's already there. He's there now. He's done. Havana Gray becoming a sire of sires already, and so interesting. You look on both sides of the.
What do you make of that?
Well, Havana Gray himself, he was by, go on, give me a clue. Havana Gold, which won the Guineas. That won the Guineas, isn't it? Yeah, Havana Gold. Or did it?
Not Havana, was it?
Havana Gold. No, didn't win the Guineas. What did Havana Gold do as a horse? It won at Sean.
The quality of research that makes this podcast
It's
head and shoulders
absolutely different
above
class.
everyone
The
else.
problem is
Yeah, it was Havana Gold. Yeah.
Havana Gold. Yeah, so Havana Gold was Havana Gray's sire. The dam sire was a Dark Angel. The mother, Blanc de Sheen, she was a sprinter.
He just doesn't scream longevity, does he? I mean, they're all like types.
I always think with Havana Grays, I think they're producing some good, sharp types, and as a rule, and it's a good sire to be involved with if you're a syndicate, because it's relatively cheap still, and you can possibly send a decent, quickish mare to Havana Gray and end up with possibly a nice 2-year-old you have a chance of selling to King Kong. But apart from that, I don't think we're talking classic lines here, are we?
I don't think so, no. As I say, if I'm looking at a Havana Grey, I tend to first look to see what their attitude's like, and that's something that sort of crept up on me over this season, really. I've been thinking, don't know whether I like the look of that one or not, and it's nothing physical.
Okay, so let's come on to today, where we had forget Longchamp, yes, and we're gonna, before we come on to the horses, we're gonna come on to a topic about the ground at Longchamp. Now, it was very interesting, like so many people pointed out, that the official going on the racing purse was soft at the races, and Sky Sports Racing came out with the narrative of good to soft, which was the official going, I believe, from Longchamp themselves, that's why they're printing that. But it's the biggest pile of bollocks we've ever seen, because turf tracks yet again have been proven right, as we pointed out on Friday's show, that fast ground was prevalent at Longchamp this weekend. And even Towser himself came on to tell us eloquently today that ignore the good to soft, it's fast ground, John.
Yeah, I mean, the Arc was fast by 4.1 seconds.
Yeah.
On good to soft.
Yeah, so right. So this is it, right? And it's won by the biggest Turner foot horse as well, Ace Impact. So that ground would obviously be advantageous to an horse that's got an outstanding foot. So before we come on to the races, there seems to be a problem for punters. I would probably say worldwide. It's probably not confined to the UK. The inaccurate going reports we've had in this country now for a long time. Stuart Williams, as I've mentioned on previous shows, has made a big complaint this year, and he said it's the worst he's ever known for going descriptions by clerks. And Longchamp, whilst I think their watering policy is possibly better than ours, or French watering policies are better than ours, in terms of they'll shove 60 or 70 mils on a week before the race, flood the track, and don't do any more with it.
And it's probably a better policy.
Do you know why it might be a better policy? Because the soft ground horses, 1 or 2 didn't go on it, I accept that, but it was very difficult after day 1 on the Saturday when you got Truesham winning, you got Pokerface winning, and the times were quick, which suggested that however that works horticulturally, and I'm not a groundsman or anything, but that worked in terms of those horses either a fine on fast ground or on that turf where it wasn't particularly knocking the top off, like you've said, John, for yonks, because all that you're getting with this watered ground where they chuck the water on the night before, the 5 and the 6 mil or the 4 mil or whatever, right, is just, it doesn't soak in right down to the roots, so it's just on the top. So you're just getting this top that's flicking up and loose turf, which, like you've said, there is absolutely no data whatsoever. Loose top ground or fast ground causing more injuries to horse.
Yeah. It's a hell of a situation to be in, really. You know, I mean, they brought it on themselves, but as a result, we're all in the shit with it.
If any clerk of the courses are listening to this pod, and one or two of you might do from time to time, please give us a shout on this, because obviously you are doing this day to day, and you've got a directive to produce safe ground. What's your thoughts on this? I'm no expert. All I know is that I'm like John. We think the July course in the summer under Prosser is a fucking waste of time. As in, it's just like they'll still, the times are good, right? What's the visuals? That's bad because you get all this flicking up.
2/3 of sales aren't handling it, which is ridiculous for good to firm ground, which is what they invariably give out as they're going.
So maybe the way France do it is the way forwards, and you basically look at the weather the weekend, and yeah, it is gambling. But it's no different to what we're getting now. Where, for example, Richard Annan said Doncaster watered John the night before the Ledger. Was that public knowledge?
Not to my knowledge, no. And I mean, why would they? I mean, that was softish ground, wasn't it?
Well, that's what he did say that, didn't he?
He did. It was a direct quote in the Racing Post today.
Well,
for why his horse got beaten the Champagne.
Well, they've done that then on the QT.
Yeah,
they've not informed punters. If that's true, what Richard Annan has said.
If there's any punters out there that know that they were going to water, or heard that they were going to water at Doncaster, or heard that they did water at Doncaster, please get in touch. We'd love to find out for definite, because that is absolutely disgusting if they're water.
Where do we go from this? Because a lot of punters have messaged me, like privately and publicly, on this, and said about the information fed to punters is a disgrace, because obviously people are looking at the going for Longchamp, say Thursday or Friday, and it's saying soft on Thursday. I think,
Well, I know we weren't going to mention these pricks this week, but in all fairness, this is something the Gambling Commission should be all over.
Go on.
You've got a situation where the regulatory body is in bed with a group of businesses whose sole intention is to disarm punters of their cash. Now, the Gambling Commission should be looking at this and saying, hang on a minute, this information that's going in the form book is trash.
Shouldn't that be the BHA?
No, because the BHA is part of the problem.
What?
The BHA are the problem, aren't they? They've chosen to go down this path. And as a result, they can deny it all they want. The evidence is there that they are in bed for funding with businesses whose sole aim is to relieve racing's followers of their money.
Which is true.
Now, justify shit-going forecasts and reports under those circumstances, they can't.
Yeah, but surely that's shafting owners, though, as well. I mean, that's why obviously Stuart Williams complained.
They're not bothered.
They don't care. They don't care.
Told you that.
Yeah, they don't care because they don't know. And this goes to the heart of what we said about the lack of technical knowledge within the BHA and the Gambling Commission. It's not so much they're ignoring it, they just don't appreciate it, because that's detail and they're strategic. So, it's what you get when you have lots of people that have got no interest or knowledge of the sport, putting in positions of authority. That's the problem. You've got more chance of getting a hand job off Margot Robbie than you've got them getting involved in that. You've got no hope. But if Margot's listening, prove me wrong.
Yeah, we love Margot Robbie, especially Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, we do.
Jesus Christ.
Fucking hell, yeah. Yeah. Holy smoke. Fucking hell. You'd push her guts in, wouldn't you? Fucking hell.
Chris, you were Donnie in that film. Well,
Jimmy had JB, you fuckers.
Donny, the fucking the idiot one. What was his name? Was it Jonah Hill played him? Was it? I can't remember who
the
played
actor's
him in it.
name, but Donny was fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, he's ace, wasn't it? I liked him.
Anyway,
yeah.
go and watch
quite.
Donny tonight, and
Yeah, well, watch Margot instead.
no, when he drops his trousers and
Yeah.
It's like an excerpt from JB now, is it?
Yeah, we need Lawrence Fox to come on.
yeah, Russell Brand, get them all in. You know, like circle jerk, John. Get him back.
Oh,
get him back to the topic. Yeah, so we're going. Yeah, going on ground. This is a thing that's been happening on British race courses now for yonks. There's a pattern that's emerged, and we've gone down a certain way. But like someone also pointed out on Twitter today, I read, for example, Clerk has seemed to change tack for the bigger meetings. He didn't seem to put as much on for the better racing, which was kind of weird. He kind of overdid it with the cherry on some of the provincial cards, but the general Eclipse meeting and other decent meetings.
Well, he's going to be careful with them because he's more in the spotlight. Whereas the other times he's more worried about filling a card out. And let's not forget the part trainers playing this, because leading up to a meeting, you've got 5 out of 6 trainers twittering on about safe ground, haven't you? You know, so you can understand them swamping it on a bit to make sure the cards fill up, especially if they're not that attractive as cards.
What is wrong? Why as like fast ground? It's like betting being a dirty word, isn't it? Why has fast ground suddenly become dangerous? Like over the last few years.
Well, why does every fucker put a hood on a hard puller now?
Yeah, it's like it's like.
See, it's the same thing. The fucking sheep, aren't they? You know, and one says, fast ground, my hurt him, man, that. And then everybody, well, mine's a big one as well. I mean, I don't want to run that.
Well, that's the thing with Trushan. What if King Kong has got it completely wrong all Trushan's life, and Trushan is absolutely fine on ground quicker than good?
Well, he has, hasn't he? I mean, that yesterday tells you he has.
You know.
And Holly Doyle has taken, 3.5 years to work out he settles better in front.
So you've got a front runner that they didn't run as a front runner, and you've got a horse that...
Brilliant professionalism, isn't it? You know?
That they've basically said, no, we cannot risk this horse on fast ground, and yet that's exactly what they did in the Cadran, even though it was a bit of a farce of a race, but nevertheless, if that was hurting it, that sort of ground, it wouldn't have quickened away and won the way it did. So it proves that trainers, jockeys, and people in charge of the sport aren't necessarily the ones to ask opinions of, because clearly everyone gets things wrong, me this week included. Anyway, back to Longchamp, because we've got some in...
I wouldn't have some of the fuckers if I thought it was Monday tomorrow.
Well, we know. This is a problem. This is why we're in a mess. This is why racing is going to be in a mess, and we've done that on previous shows, so I'm not going back there. But the Prix Jean-Luc Lagardère, the Grand Criterium, was won by the Yogurt Cannon, spaffing yogurt all over everywhere, John, after
Yogurt Monsoon.
Yeah, he's bouncing now. He's the Yogurt Cannon. He's got a Guineas candidate, has he not?
I bet Zoe Bird's happy she pissed off. She'd have been.
But John, let me put it to you: this horse beat Al Musmak on shitty ground at Ascot by 4 lengths, 4 wickets. Al Yanubi was 4th. That's gone and won the Tattersall, right? This has gone and won the Grand Criterium nicely. This is a Guineas contender, is it not?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he'll run it in Crave Morning.
Yeah. Have we got this wrong? Because we sort of said it was kind of flattered by the shit ground winds.
No, he'll bugger it up. We don't worry about that. We don't have conversations with him.
John's faith in Richard Annan there for you Rosalian Guineas backers for next year. Right, we'll come on to the Marcel Boussac, John. And this is a race I love backing the winner, but I ain't done since about 1998.
Since the last time Wortham has had a run.
And opera singer, John. This could be the one that mops the lot up next year in the classics?
I was a bit sick here because I mean we'd had a good go on Rose Bloom, as people know, and because I'd backed Rose Bloom each way, I sat tight. When I saw this opera singer going to the start, honestly, she tried to knock your eye out. Really, I mean, I just thought, Jesus Christ, that's done well. She looked absolutely magnificent. I mean, you know, it's after timing, but I mean,
Chris
I don't
Paul.
bullshit people, you know. That's only if you've had a bet, isn't it? I mean, I sat there like a fucking lemon and never even raised a digit, you know. And I felt a bit sick afterwards, you know, because she looked superb. And she looked superb in the race. I mean, I'd be worried for Carla's way if she turned up in the 1,000 guineas, to be honest. I hope they go down the Oaks route. I'd be very worried if she turned up at Newmarket.
Have you seen any odds after that? Any quotes after that for the?
I haven't, no.
Right, on your head then, right? So what price are you a backer of Opera Singer for the 1,000 guineas? What if you were to check the Walls Ices, what price would you be for Opera Singer?
I wouldn't bet her until the spring and running plans were made clear, to be honest.
But they'll go there though, they will. They will. I mean, she bounces out
Well,
and she bounces out and makes all that. That's ideal for Newmarket. Don't.
above 10-1 would be very attractive. But I would imagine she'll be about
I can
5.
tell you what she is. She is 6-1 with Skybet and Coral and 5-1 general. So you think that's about right, John?
Middle. Yeah.
So it's a leave. It's an off stump leave for John on Opera.
She's not going to get shot before. She's not going to get shot before Christmas, and if that's the case, there's no point betting her because they have to keep her alive, don't they?
Yeah. They do.
Yeah.
Right, the old arc then to finish the card. I mean, Frankie had a moan in the Prix de la Forêt that he should have got the race. Maybe he should have. What do you think? He was hampered, but the drone cam might have saved the winner that kept the race. That John Chris pulled me out and said he backed that after the race as well. He's a twat. On to the arc and Ace Impact.
I wasn't going to say anything on here about that.
John, you're a fucker. Right. Ace Impact then certainly dispelled any myth that he's not going to get a mile and a half. Won with a rapid turn of foot. But you thought the Japo should have got second, John.
Yeah, I did. Ace Impact was upsides the Jap turning in. Ace Impact swung wide, the Jap waited for a gap. And I think if the Jap had just stayed just inside Ace Impact and gone wide with him, I think the pair of them would have mowed down the others. And I think that one would have been second. Useful
It is,
Jap.
and but they probably in karma for years of seal clubbing and whale eating, and it's and it's karma and Banzai. Do you remember Banzai?
Oh, yeah.
Takeshi's Castle, were that them as well?
Probably. He looked like a bad Jap, didn't he?
Right, that's the review done. So, John, can you expand on your current Guineas portfolio and your anti-post portfolio next year, what you've done so far for the Classics?
I only have 2 horses backed, I think. Carla's way at 33 for the Guineas. City of Troy at 20s for the Derby and 10s for the Guineas.
Ooh, you're looking pretty with that. I mean, what have you heard any vibes on City of Troy? Is he? What is the plan with him? Is anyone read anything or?
Triple Crown Master Snooker and
Boat race.
I think if he comes out with it all right, they're going to have a crack at the FA Cup.
I mean, he's 8-11 for the Dewhurst in 2 weeks already. 8-11. But that's the Walls Ices.
They're after making stallions all the time, aren't they? You know, I mean, to my mind, he's done enough hard roughing up. You know what I mean? But they'll want to win a Dewhurst.
I think it's a lovely, sexy profile. Wint Dewhurst, straight for Guineas, 4 wins on board. You've then got the choice of St James's Palace or Irish Guineas, and then you go probably Well, you know what they like though these days, right? They're trying to breed milers and 10 furlong.
Yeah, they are. But if they've won a Guineas and they think there's half a chance of getting that triple crown, there's only one way they're going.
That's the review complete. So that's John's anti-post portfolio and what we thought on the weekend's action and the Longchamp ground. There does need to be some more consistency with Clerk's producing better ground. Maybe turf tracks could get involved with more tracks. Maybe tracks would embrace turf tracks at their tracks. Maybe there's some kind of money operation there that could work for us all and for the punter, but I don't think punters are listened to, and that's why we have to do independent research, which is why the outrage this weekend, racing channels themselves giving ground out as good to soft, and you have to get Towser after race 2 on Arc Day telling everyone it's fast. That's no good, as we saw. Killarney then this weekend added some more scandal, and somebody made a good point actually. Why is it when they run a horse and it's the wrong one? And it's always like the older horse. You know?
Yeah.
It's never the 2-year-old. Or it's never
No, never really tell you about a mistake, will it?
well, I mean, you could say they were shenanigans, but you can't get paid anyway. You can't win. And obviously the right result was formed. And of course, on the back of my bad week, betting wise, yes, I did bet it. So my delight turned to like dismay, knowing that my Betfair balance was just going to be depleted after said non-victory. So yeah, that is very disappointing. But John, why don't they scan them before they actually go on the track? Why did they have to scan them after the race?
Good point. Don't know. I'm sure there are logistical problems, but that seems to be the obvious solution, isn't it? But I'm sure.
Because if you were trying to get one beat in Ireland, then, so if they're scanning them after the race and not before the race, right, or whatever, I mean, I don't know, somebody can correct me here, but surely they must be scanned before the race. That's got to be how it should be. And then, therefore, there's not this problem, because if it was scanned before the race, or was it a box issue? Was it basically...
It must have been a box. It must have been a box issue because the scan on arrival at the
I think
track.
they do, yeah. Because, yeah.
It must have been a case of the kids took the wrong one out the box. He took it for saddling, and the trainer hasn't noticed.
Yeah, yeah, the trainer wouldn't. Yeah. It's a weird one, isn't it? It is peculiar that in 2023 still get these with these kind of incidents now and again. It's very odd, but
of course,
I don't know.
I love this game, John. I love this game.
Well, yeah, you'd expect him to get it wrong a few times, wouldn't you? Around crackpot.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I mean, you get trainers like the Kilton, Zary, and 300 of the buggers. I mean, you could easily switch around with them, couldn't you? They wouldn't know their ass from the elbow.
No, not at all. And it's remarkable that those kind of operations have so few errors. I mean, because as you say, they've got so many horses coming and going. You'd think that'd happen, more regularly. But it does beg a belief.
I did enjoy Johnny Mercer, John, talking to Sir Mark Prescott today on ITV Racing when he...
Was it about bull fighting? It's Sir Mark Prescott saying, I love this game! I love bloodshed!
Fucking donkeys off fucking church road.
Yeah, and that was going through my head throughout the entire interview, because like Mercer butted into Prescott and said, "Oh yeah, I pulled Luke before the start at last year's Arc and said, you need to ride Andy and don't go too soon where there's a false straight and this, that, and the other." Yeah. I love this game on repeat throughout this.
It's horrible. Cringe-worthy. Oh, fuck me, it's vile. Absolutely vile.
Yeah, but anyway, love the Group 1, Johnny. Yeah.
He'll maybe take my at bullfighting next.
Old Prescott.
It's going to be big net.
They'd use Mercer as the fucking rag, wouldn't they? That's the thing.
He'd get a bull's temper up, wouldn't he?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he definitely would.
Stand him in arena there. Oh, I love this game! And then unleash the bulls. Wow.
Yeah, we'll give you the horn, mate. Yeah, not the way you think, no.
Right, on to LNER this week, which obviously we're not talking about affordability checks, but again, another dangerous path from a major transport company that have taken it upon themselves to ban all gambling-related websites off their Wi-Fi. And I'm not just talking about the sites like Betfair, and I'm talking about the Racing Post, at the races. Yep,
Wow.
all blocked.
Oh.
Again, this is a scary path because this is like, you know, like with like recently, it's like wrong thing, wrong speak, wrong doing,
Yeah.
and gambling now appears. This is and what's more disconcerting for me, Chris, John, is that LNER aren't owned by a private company. They are currently in government hands. Yes.
Are
So,
they?
so in that case, someone at government has decided to make that policy on LNER trains. Again, we talk about the cynicism of what we're not allowed to talk about, like Voldemort in Harry Potter. He who must not be named. We can't talk about this subject, so we've banned ourselves. But nevertheless, this is quite. Do you think this is sinister? Because this is a recent policy change.
Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. And I'm amazed that I didn't realise they were currently in government hands. I assume they were a privately
they
owned
have been,
franchise.
but they've been run to
what
the ground, and the government took them back. And
I think, well, then that's another pointer towards the fact that there is an agenda here. Why would the government, who should surely be solely concerned with getting that particular franchise back up and running and serving the needs of the travelling public, why would it even occur to them to think about something so trivial as banning gambling adverts on their Wi-Fi?
I mean, it's fair enough banning Ron Jeremy from people's mobile Wi-Fi travelling, but
same thing. It's tobacco, porn, drugs. I mean, gambling is in many ways worse. You know, it's more socially acceptable to watch fucking Pornhub 12 hours a day
like
than
many teenagers.
Yeah, totally. That's exactly it. And you know, we laugh, but we're only being half funny here or half humorous. You know, it is now assuming the status of, you know, a completely unacceptable hobby. It has assumed, you know, as I said, I mentioned previously many times before, you know, a guy I knew that was addicted, I think it was to crack, said it was easier for him to admit to his family that he was a crackhead than he was a gambler. Bizarre, but that's how.
It's like I said with these parties, pre-election, they're going to improve things for you.
Yeah.
Post-election, they decide you need improving.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is one step towards making you a better citizen.
Yeah. Social engineering, that's what it is, isn't it? It is an experiment, or not an experiment, an exercise in modifying people's behaviour.
Somebody's nodded this through, haven't they? You know.
Yeah, gambling bad, and no one looks at the detail and say, well, you know, what possible benefit? How is it reducing social harm that people can't browse the Racing Post website on their commute to work or their you know, their trip home? How is that improving people's lives? It isn't. But
I mean, what's the next
policy.
step? If a bloke gets on a train carrying a Racing Post and he has a look at it, they're going to throw him off the train.
Yeah, well, what's the difference? But what is the difference? No, it's a good point. It is an absolute. If you go and say, right,
Black
you know,
copy of Razzle.
Racing Post. Might as well be. Yeah.
There you go. What you can do, you can get on the train holding a copy of Reader's Wives.
Parade or something, or Nave or something.
Put your Racing Post inside it. Then everybody's like, oh, he's all right. He's only reading porn.
Yeah, exactly right. That's exactly it. It's bonkers.
Very good analogies, yeah.
You drop your Razzle, everybody sees the Racing Post. It's fucking
dirty bastard. Yeah, filthy. Look away.
Yeah, look at that dirty bastard.
Yeah, look at that 7 furlong maiden at fucking Newmarket. That filthy pig.
Yeah.
You know.
So LNER, the companies to maybe have a go at, which is the government, basically. Which is worrying, of course, for the forthcoming review, because obviously if people in government are taking these steps with a train line, what are they going to do when it comes to the white paper? I've mentioned it. I've committed a sin. So we move on, and we come to... It is. We said we couldn't mention it, and I've managed to mention it because I'm an idiot. We come to the bit for me this week, and I must admit, this is for those out listening to our pod, get a kick off it, maybe get some fun off it. But there is a more serious side to this game, and when things are going shit, it's not a case of I love this game. It's I fucking hate this game, and my mental health's been affected recently because I've had a bad week, and it's fine to this. In the Twitter world, it's not fine to admit that because people take the piss, or people like boomers, don't they? Oh, I've backed this at tens. It's pissed up. I told you all, blah de blah. But the downside is that we all back losers, and this is one of the weeks where I think I've sunk into a. I'm not saying a dark place, but it's not good, and I'm
A
yes,
morass.
I'm trying my hardest to what's the word? Pucker up. If you pucker up and buck up and
Yeah.
make sure that I'm at my best the next day. And as a long term sufferer of depression, I've always had the tactic of thinking 24 hours ahead, which is always suited me. Which is why I'm terrible when I organise trips. So say if I book a trip in 3 weeks in advance, and then I drop 5 or 10k or a bit more, or somebody upsets me offline or whatever, it can affect me, and I don't turn up to these events, and that's been a factor of my life over the last few years. I don't mind admitting it. And this week has been very testing work wise. It's very hard, right, to lose a lot of money, but it's even harder now. I mentioned it again, Anna, with affordability checks because I can't deposit without friction. As in, I know if I chuck a load of money in there, right, they're gonna go fucking batshit, aren't they? On the fucking the Romanians will start off, and then it'll escalate to fucking head of compliance. Who'll fucking look at it and think, oh, not him again.
And you'll have loose trust
Yeah,
coming
Liz
round,
Truss coming round, yeah, banging on about fucking
growing the pie.
finger in the pie,
But
and yeah.
Oh,
So there's all that to consider, and this is what the last 3 years has done to my man. Honestly, I was sat with John and the Ginger Hitler at Saltburn Golf Club the day before lockdown. We played a bit of golf, a bit of snooker. We were sat in Saltburn watching Cheltenham, John, weren't we? And if you'd have told me now what what all gamblers are facing in terms of what we have to put up with and jumping through. So you have to send this, you have to do this, you have to send these documents, and this ain't good enough. Can you afford it? Billy bullshit. I just laughed at you and I said, "What the fuck are you on about?" It's happened. They've come for my industry. The zealots have come for my industry. Has it affected me? 100%. I've adapted, yes, to feed my family, right? In terms of I've had to like change the way I play. I can't, for example, I can't go batshit. I can't say, right, I'm going to fucking stick $5,000 on last fav at day because I can. Because you can't, because then you have to put more money in, and then you have to put more money in, and then you get asked questions, and then you get your account suspended. So I have to play a completely different way, which is like you do your bollocks, and now I'm going to have to play for the remainder of what we're on October. Yeah,
yeah,
which
first of
fucking month is it,
October.
right? So I've got to play. I've got to play for the rest of
Yeah.
October on a skeleton bank, trying to build it up like a fucking idiot. When there's money,
Yeah, Butley, you're making the argument for them. Now, everything you say is true and it is your lived experience. But they would turn around and say, by restricting you and making it more difficult for you to play, we're improving your mental health. We're saving you from losing money.
we're
You know,
saving you from the anguish.
you haven't got a grip of things. You're out of form. It's affecting you. We're helping you. These barriers are actually for your own good. That's how they would reason. They would come away from that discussion
Yeah,
saying, well, you've made the case for us. What they don't get is that people have a right to live how they want. But you've admitted it's affecting you. You're unhappy. You're out of form. You're doing money. They're going to try and stop you putting money in because you've admitted it. You're not feeling in
no,
control of it, are you?
I would fail their tests.
Making their
Mark a
argument.
harm.
They're saving you. They're saving you from yourself. That's how they would reason. That's how
And,
they would
and the point
rationalise it,
is,
should I say?
because I'm not allowed to freely do what I want to do, which is to blast out of trouble and get myself back flying, they're saying, no, you can't do that. because obviously that's dangerous, and we're there to protect them.
Yeah.
This is the wrong thing, because like I need to be able to blast out when I need to, because it's important to pay my bills. Right.
Yeah.
So at the moment, this is the truth. I live off credit cards, right? So when I can't withdraw from Betfair, I live off credit cards. So until I can withdraw, so I pay interest on them credit cards. If it, until I can make that withdrawal, to then pay them off, because for the fear of not being able to allow to be deposited in Betfair. So how is that helping me? How is that responsible?
But it is. They would say, that ultimately, the fact that you're living off credit cards and the fact that they restrict withdrawals, it's you who is choosing to live like that. They would say, well, go and get a job, because they don't acknowledge the fact that people can and do make a living from gambling. They operate from the premise that all gamblers lose. It's a mugs game. Only the bookies win. So if you operate from that starting point, that's what influences the whole strategy, because they refuse to acknowledge that people can actually make money out of it. That's the problem.
They think you should be on the tills in Aldi, like.
Yeah, totally. That's what they
After
think,
this
because,
week, they'd be right.
because they can't. Yeah, they can't acknowledge that you can make money out of it, and people do. Yes, most people don't, but they operate from the premise that no one makes money from it, so therefore we're going to make it really hard for you to lose money, not win money, lose money.
In their heads, these people hear harp music playing as they walk towards you and fall to their knees, hands outstretched, palms facing upwards, as they gently cup your knackersack in their hands, uttering a prayer to stop you wanking.
Yeah.
For your own good.
Save your soul. Totally.
It's like a Billy Graham session, for bad lads.
But it is. These are zealots. These are people that believe wholeheartedly that they're acting in your good. It's the medicine. The medicine might not taste very nice, but it's for your own good to take it. You won't acknowledge it, but in the long term, you'll thank us. That's how they operate, and that's what they think, and that's what they genuinely think.
I would say mentally, the last 3 years have been terrible for me, and but for this podcast and people cheering me up both online. So thank you to all our listeners, because you do cheer me up with some of your comments and funniness. Bidders, special shout out to you. I love Chris Poole when he comes on with a trumpet. Things like that, it just makes it more bearable. It's a very tough game, and when you're not clicking and in form, sometimes it shows like this that get me going. So thank you as well, Chris and John, for this journey throughout our pods, because I think without this, who knows? And they don't care. They don't care about us. They're not interested. What our lived experience is, like you said, Chris, you could say this to them frankly in an interview or a pod, they wouldn't give a shit. They wouldn't give a flying shit. And
they wouldn't, because it's a mugs game. Everyone loses. Why wouldn't you want to get off drugs? It's the same. If you change the word gambling from heroin, you say, I really enjoy heroin. I'm a functioning heroin addict. I've got money for heroin. I love fucking heroin. And they can't. And there are some people who are functioning drug addicts who fucking love drugs. But it's scarcely comprehensible.
Or if you like
when people say that, but that's how they operate. Yeah, that's how they think. Why would you not want to get off heroin? Because I love heroin. Yeah, but it's bad for you. Yeah, I know.
Agreed.
Yeah,
that's right. We'll finish off with a few questions, which are going to improve the mental health of everyone. Little Polvy has been on. He said, John, biggest letdowns of the flat season so far, biggest surprises, and looking forward, is there a jock trainer or horse that can take the racing world headlines next year?
Next year, City of Troy.
That'll win the Guineas and World Snooker. Yep.
You would think so. Biggest letdown? I think there's a case for saying Ammo Racing have been a bit of a letdown with how they've conducted themselves, actually. I think from a so-called big player in the game, it's not what you'd want to see. Yeah, I think that they've let themselves down, not just the game.
I would say not that it'll take the world by storm, but there's been a chap that's messaged me about him, and I like him as well. There's a young jockey called Joe Levy that I think has got a lot of potential going forwards. I think he's a jock that will carry on getting better and better, and I think this is a jock you should pay attention to.
Who does he ride for?
I'm not sure he rides out for. To my eye, he's very balanced. He seems a really good lad, and I really think he's going to do very well as a pilot. So he's one to. If he rides in the all weather this winter, it'd be interesting when stables use him to take weight off, because I think he's going to be quite significant. I'm not saying he's like going to be as like breakthrough as Billy Loughnane, but it might be a bit more of a slow burner. Yeah. But Joe Levy, I think, has got a lot of talent, and I'm quite looking forward to seeing him going forwards. So thank you for that, James. Stephen Thomas, yes, the disgrace of the BHA in terms of the fixture list, John, not being produced at this moment. We're in October. How are owners and trainers supposed to plan for 2024? Well, Stephen, we know what's happening here, though, right? We know this is I'm not defending the BHA. It's a difficult time for them because they've created their own difficult time in terms of premierisation, and there's going to be kickback from tracks not wanting to go early meetings. Yeah. They're going to say no, fuck off. No, Fakenham have already lost the New Year's Day biggest attendance meeting of the year thanks to premierisation. Fuck off. It's just for Entain and all the fucking big court bookmakers to just run the racing how they want, like they do.
You can still plan, can't you? Because at the end of the day, the Craven meeting's still going to be the second week in April, and the Guineas is always going to be in May. Newbury Spring meeting's always going to tag on to the Craven. So forth, isn't it? You know, I mean, you've got your main structure. It's just the little tweaks that the BHA are going to put in to justify the salaries, isn't it?
Indeed. Yeah. I mean, look, Stephen, you're spot on. We know, you know what we said about the BHA. We'll give him a week off, just one week off.
Yeah.
Paul Newman being on Freemasonry in horse racing, John. What's going off? Is this endemic in horse racing?
Paul Newman.
The one in fucking, the one that.
The one who does the salad dressing.
Yeah,
the one
that played with Robert Redford in The Sting.
Butch Cassidy.
Yeah.
That's the best film ever. Doyle Lonergan. Do you fella? What a film! What a film that is.
That was a Sting, wasn't it?
It's like after a good Vindaloo, it's The Sting, but a good film.
Yeah.
But Paul Newman's beyond Freemasonry. Have you heard of any of it in British racing?
I was once at Doncaster, and somebody, when I shook hands with him, tapped me on the wrist with his index finger. And I thought it was a sex thing, so I went and waited in the bogs. But
no, he just wanted your watch, mate. Honestly, he just wanted the old fucking watch. I think Freemasonry's, the advantages I think are overblown. I mean, I declare I'm a Freemason. I haven't been to a lodge meeting for years, but I've had no advantages in life conferred upon me by being a Freemason, other than I no longer have to spend 200 quid a month on fucking raffle tickets and other good causes. So I think some lodges, that they do help each other, but most of it's just a way to get away from their kids and their wives, I think. So there you go. So funny handshakes aside, he's never given me anything.
Yeah, right. One question to finish the show, which is a good one. It's from Alan's Vegetable.
What? What did you say? It broke up. Vegetables. All I got was vegetables. Right.
Which one of his vegetables sent it in?
If you had to go on a week-long tour of the nation's service stations in a classic Mini with a British celebrity and a racing personality, who would you choose? Chris, I'll give you time to think. I reckon John will be like straight on the bunny with this. John, who would you choose?
I'd go with Russell Brand. The man who, if you gave a child a pack of crayons and said, draw a bad man, he would come up with that. And Megan Nichols.
Why?
And then every stop at the service station, I could get out, go and get myself a packet of Polos, and come back and say the Mini are rocking and railing and steaming up at every stop.
Well, I could even see you like getting like a mini Magnum or something and all, and
I love a Magnum from a service station. As does my mate Benny, who once did 12 Magnums on the way back from the Derby.
Yeah,
3-4 pack.
after 8 bags of Colombian. Right.
He'd had a lot of cocaine, to be fair.
Chris,
Yeah.
what would be your 2 choices?
Well, I would, in terms of service station, I'd say the M6 service station at Norton Keynes on the M6 toll road, because you get a better class of punter there because they have to spend £7 to get on it. So that would be my preferred service station. Personality, I'd have JP McManus, because I'd fucking suck the life out of him for info. He'd be throwing himself out the fucking car on the tour. He'll tell me every buzzer just to get fucking dropped off somewhere. TV personality, crikey, I don't know. I would have somebody like Vic Reeves, because I think he'd be quite fun, because he's quite clearly round the bend. So I think he'd be entertaining. So that would be my.
I think I'd just go with one actually, and I'd do the driving, and I'd just think about Andrew Stringer. I've wanted him on this show, and I know he listens, right? But obviously that was Curly's man back in the day, and I know he's writing a book.
Yeah.
But imagine the stuff he'd tell you, like in a car.
Cool,
You
yeah.
know, no, he said, "You're not recording this, are you?" He says, "Let me see your phone." And I bet he'd fucking unload some stories galore.
He'd give you eye test as well. He's an optician, isn't he? He's a
I don't
qualified
know, but
optician, I think
he
you'll
does.
find. Yeah, he is. He's a qualified optician, I read somewhere. I don't know whether I dreamt that or I was high when I thought that, but I'm sure he is. And I'm sure you probably get your
He's
discount on some
Goslin's
frames
transport
as well.
man at the moment, so he transports Goslin's horses to the races and stuff like that. He's got a transport company, but Andrew Stringer.
Hey, talking of which, can I have another go?
No, I'm cheating now. Go on.
I'll have another go. The Kilt as the racing personality.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
And then I'd have Stevie Wonder and I'd let him fucking die.
That's the best one, yeah.
I'd take that chances on getting out with one face.
Well done. That wins it. That wins that round.
Yeah, very
by
superstitious, John.
Yeah.
Writings on the wall with that one. Right. That's enough. Enough of us for this week. We're back next week, of course, me, John and Chris. But before then, subscribe to Patreon, why don't you? Because you'll get some more Midweek Madness on Wednesday. You can hear some more of me, John and Chris this week, midweek. So why not? What is not to like? 7 notes a month. It's brilliant. That's all from us. Bye for now.